Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Bearded Ladies. I am your hostess V, and we have our other hostess M. And
Hello.
today we are going to talk about personal spirituality. So, just so you guys know, I have my notes on my phone, so I apologize if I seem a little robotic in my delivery. That's just to make sure that I cover everything that I would like to cover. So before we begin, is there anything that you wanted to add in before we start, or are we good to go?
Nope, just a hello to the folks at home. That's all. But
Hello,
take it
people.
away, V.
Thank you. All right, I feel like we're on a sports center show. Anyways, so I like to break up my segments when they're not researched. I like to break them up into three parts. The first part, or it's not always in the same order, but the first part is what something is, my topic at hand. The next topic is how it helps or how it matters. Next, I have why you need to have whatever topic I'm talking about. And then we have the conclusion, also known as so what. So, with that being said, let's jump right in. Feel free to take notes. If not, just listen and kind of let it wash over you like a prayer. Okay,
Good matching, good matching.
thank you.
Mhm.
So, we're going to start with what I personally believe that personal spirituality is. It's kind of funny I say it that way. Anyways, I wrote down that personal spirituality is just like it sounds. It is one's own personal form of spirituality. It is how one chooses to connect to the spirit world. What is the spirit world? It is the realm of the unseen, and it is also the world of feeling. So, in essence, how does one personally choose to interact with the unseen world of feeling? Glad you asked. At its most basic, one connects through sleep, something that we all do. And at its most complex, one connects through a form of religion. Did you have any questions or anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, we talked about this before the video because I needed clarification. Coming
Mhm.
from someone who's not or doesn't consider themselves very spiritual, I asked V what she meant about the connection between sleep and the spiritual world. And if I remember correctly, she told me that it's pretty much the subconscious or the ununderstood part of our thinking that is most closely related to the spirit world. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
All
Continue.
right. Ah, thank you.
Mhm.
So yeah, I feel like there's something I want to add to it. What
Mm.
spirituality is, just kind of piggybacking off of what you said. I believe that it is very subconscious. That's at its most potent. It is the subconscious, but you can also learn if by trial and error you can learn to bring that forward into your active daily life. And we'll kind of talk about it in the next couple of uh stacks, phrases,
Sections?
paragraphs, huh?
Sections?
Sections. There we
There
go.
we go. There we go.
I'm using my thesaurus now. Anyways, so the next couple of sections, it'll probably delve a little bit more deeper on the practical side, so you can hear how I'm bringing it forward to the light, and hopefully it makes a little bit more sense.
Mm.
So, how does it help? How does having a form of personal spirituality help? I wrote down that seeing as how we are all yin and yang, for those of you who don't know what yin and yang is, that's masculine and feminine energy.
Mm.
I believe it's a Chinese tradition. If I could be right, it could be wrong, but we'll go with Chinese tradition.
Uh-huh.
It just means masculine and feminine energy. So seeing as how we are all yin and yang, having a form of spirituality balances out the more active parts of our lives. So, for example, we are up, aware, light, and active for about 16 hours of our day. We would call this the yang energy.
Mm.
Whereas we are down, unaware, in darkness, and inactive for about 8 hours of our day, which is our yin energy. So sleep, waking up, blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
Studies show that have shown just how much sleep and rest is important in our waking life. So For people who have a more balanced sleep and rest schedule that balances out with their waking and day-to-day life, they are typically more proactive in their daily life because they are able to balance out the both of them. So there's a few studies on that. By adding a personal form of spirituality, this is also yin energy, you enhance the healing process that sleep and the yin energy gives to you. In other words, you're actively choosing to be at peace or rest. Personal spirituality can take on many forms depending on the person. What's important is how a person feels while doing the said spirituality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, is it like a form of mindfulness?
I would say yes. Whatever the form of mindfulness is for that individual person. Some people prefer to not have any personal spirituality. All they do is sleep, maybe even have just 8 hours of darkness. That's it. That's all they want to do. That's it. Personal spirituality. Some people like to draw. Some people like to go figure skating. Some people like to box, jump rope. So everybody's different in how they choose it. Whatever it is, it's kind of like getting you in the zone in a way, but also mindful. Just whatever puts you at peace and at rest. Yeah,
Okay.
everybody's different, so it's hard to give one specific direction. But I'll explain why it is that we need personal spirituality. So I said that personal spirituality helps in just as many ways as a good night's rest does. So not only that, but people feel great pride once they've established a form of spirituality. This could look like having a morning yoga routine, a cup of coffee at the wee hours of the morning by yourself, or practicing an established religion such as Islam. The important thing is that you feel at peace and at rest while you're doing it. Feel free to share your spirituality with others, but don't try to convert them. By having an established routine, you increase the chances of greater fulfillment and greater rest in your life.
So I guess this comes with like distinguishing differences between things. Because like I can understand that, spirituality is part of the subconscious. And I can understand that to practice spirituality, there seems to be a need for a type of mindfulness, relaxation of the brain, a moment to oneself. But I guess when a lot of people, or at least when I hear spirituality, I think there has to be like some connection to morality or the belief of some being. Do you believe that's true, or?
No, I don't believe that you need to have a belief in a being or something outside of yourself, although it's very helpful. And if that's what helps you out, definitely go ahead and explore that deeper. I personally, without getting into too much detail, I was heavily involved in spirituality in the monotheistic form. So I believed in one God, the Christian God, Jesus, blah, blah, blah. I followed them to my experience, the ends of the earth, so to speak. And all that did was give me hell. So, which is a bit paradoxical. There were good moments, but there are also some down ones. The down ones for me weighed more than the big ones. So as of right now, my spirituality is not one that works with a higher being as of right now. That could change. I'm slowly dipping my toe back into the Christian waters because it's all I know. The Bible definitely has some great gems in it. And if you believe in the Bible and in Jesus and God and all that, more power to you. But I don't believe that, let's say that if there is a higher being called God, I think there is. I just don't believe he's one dimensional. He wouldn't be upset he or she or it wouldn't be upset at the fact that I don't choose to make them my whole world in my spiritual practice. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think if anything, they're just happy that I'm out here exploring new things and territories. Just like a little kid playing in your backyard, picking up all the flowers even though they're not supposed to, but it's because they're pretty.
So then, what about the other aspect of spirituality where it's like connecting to, usually people will say it's connecting to a type of moral framework
Mm-hmm.
or, oh, what was it? I just escaped my brain for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The moral framework or understanding the truth of one's existence, I think is like the two other main components that people usually connect with spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Are you referring to those at all when you're talking about personal spirituality?
Not originally, because I think everybody believes that they're right at the end of the day. I was reading a book. I think it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a very popular book. I could be butchering the title right now. But there was a chapter that opened up explaining how there's this criminal. And I think he was like a mob boss or something like that. It's an old book, so it talked about kind of old story. And this mob boss was having a rundown with the police. But they said if you were to ask that mob boss right then and there how they felt about everything, they would believe that they are in the right. I may not believe they're in the right, but they do. Everybody believes to our own extent that we are in the right. So in a way, to me, our morality is already implicit in the spirituality itself. Even if it's as crazy as Jeffrey Dahmer, I don't agree with anything he did, but perhaps he thought he was doing something moral or right in his own mind. I don't know this, but if you even ask murderers, like there's like these shows where they interview murderers and stuff like that, they don't usually show a sense of remorse for what they've done. Some of them do, but not all of them do. So that's why I believe everything is personal in the spiritual realm. Personally, there are people who will pray or do black magic or voodoo or evil magic, I should say, because it's not all is evil, but people will purposefully do evil things in their own spirituality thinking that they're right, which is why I'm, to be quite honest, because I know what people do. For example, wiping your period blood on people's belongings, that's a form of witchcraft. And there was a girl who was a student in one of the universities, and her roommate shoved her toothbrush in her orifice and then put it back.
I remember this case.
Yeah, put period blood on her backpack. Did all of these disgusting things. But the girl, the witch, I'm going to call her a witch. The witch thought that she was moral in doing so. Was she? Maybe only to the witch. So it's hard for me to give out morality. If I had my way, I would definitely say there's a good and a bad, and we should do things my way, but not everyone's going to be listening to that.
Yeah, but I guess my main point is that usually when people think of the goals for spirituality, right? Usually people think that the goal of spirituality is to discover some truth, to find out what is good and what is not, to understand a higher power. Usually these are the goals when people are talking about spirituality. And I guess I'm asking you similarly, are you saying for personal spirituality there are the same goals, or there shouldn't be any goals when you're practicing spirituality? Personal spirituality.
I don't think that there should be any goals, because when you put a goal on it, you limit yourself, you stifle yourself. I think you should have expectations. You should have like high-reaching desires, but you don't want to limit yourself to think I have to be able to be this spiritual by this point in time. Otherwise, I'm a failure. And then when you do reach that point, let's say you do decide to get a goal and you do reach that moral standpoint that you wanted to attain, which I've done several times personally, not to brag, but you long for yet another goal, and that it's almost like that goal that you attain kind of releases itself and you open up to another level, and then you keep doing, and it just brings you to another level and another level. So I wouldn't limit myself by setting a goal in particular, but set yourself in the correct direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I guess that opens it back up to. So you've proposed sleeping as a form of personal spirituality, but I guess how do you know you're practicing personal spirituality or you're just like sleeping?
Well, you have
know
to.
what I mean?
Yeah, you have to want to be practicing spirituality, which goes back to that goal, like you were saying. Once you become aware of the desire to do more than sleep or to utilize your sleep, because some people like dream journals, that's one way to go into your dreams. And if you remember them, you can write them as soon as you wake up in the morning, for example. That's a desire. Once you've personally awakened to that desire, I want to do more than just sleep.
So it's like consciously trying to be aware of the subconscious.
Yes. Yes. All that spirituality is darkness waiting to come to light. And we all have these parts within us. So I'll give an example. In my darkness, I honestly believe that, this is subconscious, I should say. My subconscious, I believe that I had a wonderful family upbringing. I thought that my parents could do no wrong. And through some meditative experiences, what came to light was that I was actually abused emotionally. And it's on the fence as to whether you can say I was abused physically, because in our culture, it's not seen as a form of abuse. So depending on the culture, either I was or I wasn't. It just depends on who's asking. But I came to light that my family was not perfect. So that's just me waking up to my spirituality, and I used spiritual practice to get to that place. But that's all that it is. It's just shining a light on your subconscious, that then it becomes conscious because you now have seen it. It is now no longer under, it's above.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, no, I think that explained it a lot more. I gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I like to think of it as going up into your attic and bringing a flashlight with you, because you don't have a light in the attic, and so you're like, oh my gosh, there's that box of Christmas decorations from like 20 years ago, and you look over the other section and you're like, and those are my baby toys. That's like going into your subconscious with a flashlight.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's the ghost of the people previously that died. Excellent, excellent.
Maybe don't have ghosts in your attic.
Oh, look, there's my paralysis demon.
Oh my goodness. I don't want to go in
Okay.
your attic.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't like your attic. Alrighty. So for the last part, this is our conclusion. So I titled it effectively, So What? So what? Who cares about personal spirituality? So what? It doesn't matter that you need to have spirituality. Well, then this is my response to those people who go, so what? Personal spirituality, to me, is the bread to the butter of life as we know it. I personally choose to honor my menstrual cycle as a form of spirituality. This includes dancing and singing, and sometimes, while sleep and rest from working out at others. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyways, I also like to incorporate card readings with tarot and oracle cards. I watch topics for learning on a religious basis. Anything that puts me at rest and at peace is my personal spirituality, and I feel all the better for it. If you find yourself stressed out and looking for direction, and lacking direction, find a form of spirituality and see if you don't feel all the better and more balanced for it. Bing!
I don't
Thank
know
you. Thank you.
if they
Claps
can
all
hear.
around.
Yes, excellent.
Okay. Claps all around for the people in the back.
That was the audience cheering.
All right.
I didn't know.
I could tell.
Okay.
The audience lives in your mouth.
Yeah, there's just thousands of people in there. They're just
Mhm.
ready to shout whenever I need them.
That's such a cool power to have. You can like yell at anybody. Did you know that if you, sorry guys, we're going on a slight tangent that has nothing to do with this, but I have to tell her. Did you know that if you yell long enough, I think it's for like an hour. It's either an hour or a whole year. It's some crazy number. You are able to you'll generate enough energy to heat up a cup of coffee.
Wait, are we talking like nonstop?
Yes.
And eh? Oh, this is just like hypothetical. Like nobody's actually gonna do this,
Yeah.
right?
No
Okay,
one
gotcha.
is able to physically do it. No. But if
Got
you
it.
have those tiny people in your mouth, they can
Yeah,
yell for you, and then you'll heat up your coffee, and you won't need a microwave.
right? I wouldn't even have to wait that long because if there's thousands, like us combined, nah?
Yeah.
All of our hot breath and saliva are just gonna heat up
Oh,
that cup of coffee.
nasty. Oh, I wanted to say this, people of the world, just so you know, in America, today is Tim's birthday. My turn for people on now. Okay, so I
Oh
just have to do that
yes,
shout.
I. Your thousands of people in your mouth seem very strong. Excellent.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're very strong people.
Yeah. They would only
Alrighty, well,
take like 30 seconds to heat up a cup of coffee.
I got you. I got you.
Anyway, but thank
So,
you,
do you have
thank you.
any more questions?
Um,
Anything that you want to clarify on this topic before we close this out? We've got a little bit of time on our hands. I
for
love
the
this topic
topic.
personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, like speaking from some perspective that someone who struggles with spirituality, not in the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I don't like it. It's more so like maybe I'm just too maybe close-minded is the word. In that, like, it's hard for me to connect to something I can't tangibly touch. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, when I hear you describe these things, what my brain registers it as is like meditation.
Mm-hmm.
This like form of being aware, kind of what you said, of things that maybe is within us, but not frequently paid attention to.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you described it way better. I'm just coming from a perspective that's not so spiritual minded.
No, it's okay. I mean, everybody's at a different level. Like, I did practice spirituality, and you saw on firsthand where I ended up. Quite literally, guys, I ended up in the loony bin multiple times, several times in the loony bin because I was chasing personal spirituality. So I don't recommend the path that I took to many people. My
Mm-hmm.
sister, she's often asked me questions about spirituality. She's even asked me about talking to God. And I
Mm-hmm.
told her I personally believe that I have heard God's, no, not heard God's voice, but I personally believe that I received messages from God. God communicated with me and to me, not with words like we speak here in American English and stuff like that, but it was through sometimes it was like waves of information coming into my brain, if that makes sense, and I interpreted
Mm-hmm.
it in English, and then I understood the assignment. This happened multiple times with multiple deities, angels, who I call the Jesus figure because I'm still salty about him not being Jesus. Or if he was Jesus, then Jesus is a bum. At least in my personal experience. That's if the character that I was talking to is actually Jesus. So
Mm-hmm.
I talked to angels, I talked to the Jesus character, I talked to God, and sometimes they told me good things. and helpful things. And then other times they let me down real bad and I got hurt real hard. So I've had mixed feelings, mixed reactions, mixed opinions on God and the Jesus character and all that stuff because I did choose to follow. But so the whole reason I even wanted to bring this topic up though, because I wanted people to not end up like me, but for those out there who do want to connect to something more, I wanted to let them know that it's possible. I always preface them though and let them know that what happens may not necessarily be good or bad, so to speak. You just kind of have to let the thing go over you, and you need to balance your spirituality with practicality. You can't just jump off the deep end and go full spiritual. That's how you end up in the loony bin several times. You can't be full practical either, though. All that work makes Jack a dull boy. Find your peace, find your balance. What is it?
I don't know. I feel like that wasn't the best like comparison. Cause like, didn't he also like get possessed and go a little crazy and try to murder his wife?
Who did?
Like all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. That's from The Shining. It's from the spirits contacting Jack Nicholson and him going and trying to kill his wife.
Oh, well, see, this is what I'm talking about. Not all spirits are good spirits. Apparently, I have been misquoting this quote this whole time.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that is a perfect illustration of what I'm trying to say. Sometimes the spirits will tell you to do things that you shouldn't do, so you need to balance it out with practicality. But I don't want just this boring humdrum thing where you wake up, do your chores, go to work, pay your taxes, and then die. Have a little fun with the spirit world. And by the spirit world, I mean anything that inside of you in a creative force. Playing the guitar, sewing clothing, making paintings, drawing, horseback riding, anything that chills you out, that's your spirituality. So that's all that I want people to know, that they can have both. But be sure to balance it with practicality. So, yes.
Yeah. I mean, the question I have, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. It's totally fine. And let me know if you don't. But I guess I was a little surprised to hear you say that spirituality, or at least the way you made it sound, was like spirituality led you to going to the loony bin. Do you think it was the direct reason? Or do you think, like, if you didn't have spirituality, here, let me ask you this. If you didn't have spirituality, do you think you wouldn't have ended up in the loony bin?
I agree with that.
If you didn't have spirituality?
Yes. If I didn't have, I agree with that. Simply because, okay, so my brain is going like at 1,000 miles per minute. I'm thinking of astrology and I'm trying to explain, but I'm like, not everybody understands astrology, so give me just a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I should say, well, put it this way. I've always been very creative mentally as a child. My dad told me that he used to think that I had imaginary friends, which I never did. Not to my knowledge, I was never that kid. But I've always been very active mentally. And I think that's what generated my curiosity for the spirit world and spirituality and all that stuff in a more, what is it called? In a more, not tangible sense, in the more obvious sense, I guess. Witchcraft and wizardry, like Harry Potter up in here. Had a little bit to do with that too, though. I think she fostered some of it, and my dad did as well in moments that he didn't understand that he fostered it. For example, he said, "Mom, my mother and him were having a fight, and she found money in his pants." And then I think he was being sarcastic, but I didn't realize that at the time. But she goes, "God works in mysterious ways." And I'm like, "What? God can just magic give people money in their pants?" God was so happy. And yeah, my dad is weird. He would do stuff like that. He would blame it on God. And I'm like, man, God sounds cool.
Yeah. Did you start
with the show? Huh?
I was about to say, did you start checking your pockets at random times? Like, God, did you?
Maybe. I definitely would get money and I'd be like, oh my God, God gave this to me. I would think that sometimes. So they fostered in little ways, whether they knew it or not. They Charmed, which is about 3 witches. She showed us all Harry. She bought me a palm reading book, and I'm so sad I don't have it with me. But she bought me a palm reading book.
Mm-hmm.
So she did like the kind of witchy stuff. She didn't do it, but she introduced me to it. So it started pretty young. I get a sense of spirituality in that way. I probably would have been a quote unquote normal. I probably would have been really nerdy and just boring, and probably wrote my own stories to make my own creativity come to life.
Mm.
And through those stories, I honestly don't know how the higher levels of my spirituality came to me. I guess that stuff, like my dad would say, God works in mysterious ways. So I remember I used to try to write to God, and I would get mad that He didn't write back because I was like, I need to see ink on this page. I learned how to write to God another way, and that's actually how it started. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't go through the experiences that I went through, then I probably would be a little boring. Like I would be more on the practical side. I'll put it that way. I wouldn't be boring, but I would definitely be more on the practical side. Probably keeping my own little private journals of creative writing. That's probably the extent I'd be.
Well, thank you for answering the question.
Yeah, sorry it's long-winded, but we're about out of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. We can talk more off camera if you like, but.
Mm-hmm. But no, I think you answered a lot of my questions.
35 minutes.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
Oh, no, I just thank you for answering all of my questions and then like trying to say it in a way that I would understand. I appreciate
it. Alrighty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, thank you for watching. Insightful and even a little bit entertaining. This was a very good video we able to make. We made it without any pauses, so we're very thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we will see you on the next video. Goodbye, people.
Bye-bye, peoples.